day 7 of 365 days of daily posting on topics that I feel are relevant to the collective, that are prevalent in the conversations I have with clients, and that are on the top of my mind. These topics are on the top of my mind as well. So anyways, I'm very tired today, but I do want to make a daily video. And I just did it wasn't really an energy healing session, it was more of just a crystal layout on myself to just help balance my energy levels. After working with so many clients this week and even this weekend, I felt like, wow, I just need to have a day where I have zero expectations. I had some work this morning working with clients, which I love to do, and on Sundays I do energy healing sessions, and I love them. It's one of my favorite things. But I've also been working really hard, just doing a lot of stuff, all things I want to be doing, but it does take energy. And I've been mindful of the energy I'm expending, and that I also need to restore energy equally as I push, I need to also restore, right? And so that kind of led me to the topic today. As I was getting ready to do my crystal layout on myself, I thought, okay, while I do the layout, I need to be thinking about what is the topic that I'm going to talk about today on YouTube. And then I thought, no, don't think at all. Just be still in the session. Don't worry about what topic you have that you need to speak on or want to speak on, whatever. Don't try to come up with something. And I just set the intention that by the end of this session, I'll feel relaxed, of course, and I'll also know what I'm going to be talking on. And so this is it. It's what is self-care exactly? What is that, and what can someone do to start practicing self-care or to enhance their self-care? And I feel like this is a big topic, but it can also be kept pretty short and light. So I'm going to go with the short and light version today, and then redo the topic down the road if it feels right, and elaborate. But so self-care, okay. I'll give you a personal story. I think this is why it probably came to mind and seemed appropriate today. So right now I'm doing this oscillation between workouts that are hard, where I expend energy, and then the next day is a work in where I restore energy. Today is a restore energy day because yesterday I did a harder workout in the gym. So I just go back and forth between those to keep it balanced. And so I did some yoga this morning. It was honestly a little more of a strength type of yoga, but it was enough. I like vinyasas a lot, and it was really short, so it was 20 minutes. So I was like, this is fine, even though it's a little bit on the strength side. Vinyasa, it's 20 minutes, and that's that. Well, I also wanted to, later in the day, so that was this morning, later in the day, I also wanted to do splits, work on my middle splits. And as the day progressed, I had all those clients in the morning. The day progressed, I ran some errands, I came home. I've had a lot of relaxation time to read, and I was reading, I was watching videos, I was learning about stuff with other videos, and just kind of enjoying my day. But as the day went on, I thought I really do want to practice middle splits. So I started getting myself ready, like in my mind, just mentally preparing for the middle splits. And then I laid down for a second and realized, I just don't feel like doing middle splits. I honestly don't think my body needs that. I think it just needs to relax. And as I kind of turned my attention inward and brought my attention to my muscles, I felt that I'm very sore and very tired in my body. My body feels actually exhausted. And I know I've been pushing pretty hard with work and whatnot. So I thought, I don't think I need to do the middle splits today. I mean, yeah, it's nice to practice them, but is that really what my body needs? And I did my yoga this morning, so do I need to be doing middle splits? What does my body need right now? And when I asked that, my body was like, just rest, just relax. So instead of doing the middle splits, I came in my office and did my own crystal layout to help balance my energy and just get a nice reset before the week begins. And to me, that's kind of encapsulates self-care practices. It's honestly, I think it's just being in tune, being in tune, but asking the questions that are appropriate so that you can be aware of how you feel. It's being in touch with what you need, what your body's asking for. It's pouring rain right now. It's so beautiful. So self-care, I think, is first of all knowing your needs and hearing your needs. And how does someone hear and know their needs if they're not used to tuning in? If they're not used to asking themselves, what do you need? If they're not used to recognizing their needs, then it's really hard to practice self-care, because self-care is ultimately just giving yourself what you need to yourself. It is showing that you care about yourself. So I was thinking, okay, one way to tune into what you need is to develop the skill of being still and being quiet. Because when you're still and quiet, you allow for the information of what you need to come through. And it will come through for what the body needs, what your emotions need, what your mind needs. There's all these different layers or levels of what someone might need. And in order to hear your body speaking to you, or feel your emotions and understand them, or to kind of have an idea of what kind of mental rest or mental stimulation you might need, or mental correction even, because you might want to train, you might realize, in order to care for myself, I need to reprogram the way I think about XYZ. So that there's a psychological level to what you might need, there's an emotional level to what you might need, and there's a physical level of what you need. In order to hear any of those things, you first have to be quiet enough to receive the information. So if you don't have time in your day where you're still and tuned into yourself, then how will you know what you need, which is going to direct your self-care? So, am I talking about meditation? It could be that, but it could also be just stillness. I feel like meditation is so vague, because I don't like to get into the technical language of different types of meditation. Meditation is medication. But it means what I always say is it means different things to different people. But what I'm talking about is a stillness practice. It could be meditation, or it could just be being still. So let me give you an example. When I first started practicing being still, it's interesting because I had meditated before that, but I had never just been still. So stillness, this is what I found in practicing stillness, is I would lay on the ground. This is an exercise I would do early on in my healing journey. I'm still on it, but when I first started doing all this stuff, I would take breaks throughout the day because I'd have the tendency to get overwhelmed or stressed or feel like I constantly need to be doing something. And to train the habit of stillness, I would set a timer for 5 minutes on my handy dandy watch, and I would lay on the floor on my back, set the timer start it 5 minutes, okay? And just notice the room that I'm in and notice my body. And you'd be surprised how hard that was. So the exercise was notice the walls, take in the walls. Don't judge them. Don't think about what you need to do. Oh shoot, I need to clean that spot on the wall. You know, try to not. But what was fascinating to me is I could not stop the thinking of what I need to be, what I should be doing, or getting ideas of what I could be creating. So I would sit there in my stillness, right? And I'd start looking at the walls, feeling the carpet. If my cat came around, I'd pet her, and I'd really focus on being present in the moment, in the physical space that I was in right there. But as I was practicing that stillness, I would start to come up with ways I can create from that. Oh, I should make a post about this. Oh, I should write this in my journal. Oh, you know what I should do is make an event and invite people and do it was like I couldn't just be. I realized I had to be productive. Even when I was practicing stillness, I was thinking about how to make something of it, how to turn it into something valuable. And that showed me how uncomfortable stillness really was, and how infrequently we practice it as a whole. We don't need to be thinking about anything cool or special. We don't need to be repurposing the exercise of stillness to benefit from it. We get the most benefit when we're really just still. So stillness, I think, is key in practicing self-care, because that's when you develop a sensitivity for your needs, when you learn how to tune in and feel things and notice what comes up. In those times of stillness, I would sometimes realize how exhausted I was, but I was so used to going around being busy and creating value, right? Trying to create value, trying to look like I'm creating value, whatever, being productive, that it would block my sensitivity to my own exhaustion. And then you wonder why you have breakdowns or why you get sick. Well, it's because we're not tuned into we're not tuned into the subtle signs, and so we don't even notice the signs of what we need until they're so big that we don't have a choice. We have to collapse. We have to be sick in bed. We have to have a breakdown. We have to have a meltdown. We have to fight with someone. But if you were still throughout the day and you built in the time, you develop that sensitivity, and you can hear the signs of what you need. You can pick up on the clues of what your body, mind, and emotions need before they get too big, and then they're just right in your face. So, hold on. I have to sneeze. Oh, dang it. I hate that. It went away. I was so looking forward to that sneeze. So needs. That is self-care. It's being tuned into what you need. And there were two things that came up today that I want to share an example of self-care. It's if you look at your underwear drawer. This is just a silly example, but I think it's useful. If you look at your underwear drawer, your undies, your panties, whatever you want to call them, your undergarments, you look at those. Are they ratty-tatty? Are they all ratty-tatty? Do you have falling apart underwear? And that's an example of self-care. It's like giving yourself the messages that you care about yourself and doing things that are nice for you. And it can be a whole range, surface level things like buying new underwear. Okay, that's not really, that's not deep stuff, but it is a form of self-care. Just the way drinking water and being tuned into your need to drink water and giving your body the water it needs throughout the day, and not just thinking about water when you're parched and dehydrated and you think, oh my God, I haven't had water all day, right? That it might seem surface level, but that's you being tuned into taking care of yourself, self-care, right? And then there's bigger, there's better, deeper examples that are, I'd say they're equally important, but they're maybe more in, I guess it depends. I mean, some people, when they hear self-care, they think about the small stuff. They think about getting a facial, going and getting their nails done, I don't know, there's this surface level stuff, and it still counts, but then there's the deeper things, setting boundaries, saying no, being gentle with yourself, allowing yourself to cry, allowing yourself to be angry, feel the emotions of anger, holding space for yourself is self-care. I was talking with someone today, and this person shared with me that they used to also be kind of tough things out if they had made commitments to people in their life, and then the week comes or the day comes for them to show up to those commitments, even if they weren't feeling good, and they really needed time alone, this person in the past would have forced themselves to still do it because they had made those commitments. Well, this person was reflecting on their growth and shared that after an incident happened and they really needed the time to themselves, they canceled all those commitments because it was so important for them to give themselves the time to curl up and feel the emotions that they were feeling. Whereas in the past, they would have gone to the commitments, done the social things anyways because of their sense of duty. So that is also self-care. It's knowing, there's a big spider right there. Interesting. I'm watching it right now, but it was crawling on my books. Anyways, so it's having the awareness of what you truly need in that moment and giving yourself the permission to have that, and setting the boundaries or making the plans so that you can have that. I think that's really important. It's not just the awareness piece, but it's the self-advocacy piece. I'm gonna do this for me. It's like if you showed care to a friend, except now you're turning that care inward or towards you, and you're doing what you need. So it's also feeding yourself. I work with so many people who have a hard time just eating consistently, just being consistent with their meals and food, and giving themselves meals that are nutritious, and eating the meal slowly and calmly, and giving themselves the time to chew the food and digest the food and not rushing around. So I think it's almost impossible to talk about self-care and not talk about reparenting, which is when we train ourselves to be kind to ourselves with that parental voice that's very loving and compassionate and kind, rather than critical and shameful. If you've operated from a place of shame or inner criticism, then there's a need for reparenting. You need to reestablish a relationship with yourself where you are the nurturing, loving caretaker to yourself, and you're no longer the harsh, judgmental, high expectations kind of person to yourself. So the reparenting idea, I think, is really helpful when it comes to self-care, because if you come from a background where a parent or a caregiver or people in your life were saying in their messages or in their actions that you're not really okay the way you are, and you need to constantly perform or be different in order to be seen, heard, or loved, then that's the same style of inner critic you're going to develop. Or you're going to fall into relationships that mimic that same dynamic from when you were a child. So reparenting is consciously becoming the nurturing, supportive caregiver that gives you the safety and the space to care for yourself on a basic level, which is a physical level. I'm going to put myself to bed on time. I'm going to wake up and make my bed and make breakfast. I have time to do that. I'm not going to feel rushed or like my life's in danger if I take time to myself. I'm going to slow down. I'm going to give myself, special time in the morning or at night to just reflect or be with myself, right? Those are basic needs. I'm going to have a job that gives me the money and the security that I need. If you think about like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, those physical needs are primary, and that's a form of self-care. So that's where you get the stereotype of like doing facials and getting your nails done, or like getting a smoothie somewhere. Like that's all, it's all in that same realm. But it's the most important thing about the physical needs is we all need to feel safe and protected and like our lives are not in danger on a physical level. So providing yourself with the food, the water, the sleep, the physical protection and security that you need, and the financial security that you need is a form of self-care. And then also when you begin to reparent, you are telling yourself in a loving way that your emotions are valid. I hear that you need this day to yourself, even though you said to someone you were going to go somewhere here. I understand that you're feeling sad, or you need to process this thing that happened, and you're saying that need for you to process your emotions and feel your emotions is not less important than how it looks to other people or saying no to someone. If you had a parent, or we grew up in a culture where how things look on the outside are more valued, or there's higher expectation on how to present yourself than how you actually feel. So whether the influence was a primary caregiver or the culture, part of reparenting is to change that and flip it around, where now your inner experience is more important than the outer view or the presentation or the image that you have or that you give or that people have of you, right? So it's a form of self-advocacy for sure, self-loyalty. When you say, I'm giving myself permission to say no and to turn this event down, or to say yes, and do something that I want to do. I want to go have fun because I want to enjoy myself. And maybe in the past you would have been dutiful and stuck to the schedule of no, I can't do that, I don't have time. Well, what if you do have time? And what if having a break and being loving to yourself in that way is necessary? Only you can know when that is, because it's self-care means being tuned into self. It's about, you can have people on your path who are guides, who encourage you to take care of yourself and teach you or model that for you. But it's called self-care because it is related to the self and being tuned into your needs and your body's messages, your emotions, and the mental structures that you have, and maybe needing to change them. Like, if you change the inner critic, the voice of the inner critic, from being harsh to loving, that's a psychological process, and that's meeting a need, that's taking care of yourself on a psychological level. So there's all these different forms of self-care, right? So yeah, that is my spiel today on self-care, and yeah, I hope it helps and inspires you to do just that. See you tomorrow.